is Lindsay, and my pronouns are she and her, and I'm the founder of World Changing Kids. I have the pleasure of being the moderator for this beautiful event that was co-created with Peggy, and Tony definitely was there too, the first meeting. I'm very happy to support Peggy and Devlin in this beautiful initiative. And we hope to learn more about the beautiful diversity of Africa on this International Day of the African Child. That is the important day that we're celebrating. And also learn from awesome community leaders working with BIPOC youth in Ottawa doing great things. So that is the goal of this session. So with that, I will turn it over to you, Kahmaria, for an introduction of who you are and what you do.
Well, thank you, Lindsay, and everyone, welcome. My name is Kahmaria Pingue, and I am the artistic director and the founder of a company called Onyxstasia, African Diaspora Productions. I also wear many hats. I'm also a certified teacher, and I am also a child and family worker with a nonprofit organization here in Ottawa. And so I basically love being a creative person all around, you know, and I'm also an advocate of a lot of different social justice issues here in Ottawa. So I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be a part of this. I think this International Day of the African Child is just a wonderful day to celebrate and acknowledge African, Caribbean, and Black youth, and I'm happy to be part of it.
Excellent, thank you for that lovely introduction. And we have had the pleasure of doing a few workshops together too, and Kahmaria does beautiful storytelling, dancing, drumming workshops. So yes, I'm happy to have you here today. Now, well, Tony, do you want to do an introduction of who you are and what you do?
Absolutely, and like all the panelists and everybody here, it's a privilege to be involved in this great event. And myself, I was born and raised in Ottawa, and as you can see, my cat has taken over my screen as well. But say hi to Winston. So, anyways, he's a big supporter of mine, but at any rate, I'm the founder of Canada Topflight Academy. And it's been in existence for 5 years. It's a high-level elite basketball academy, and we operate out of St. Pius X and Notre Dame High School. And basically, you know, being born and raised in Ottawa, there were a lot of kids, all our best kids, that were leaving for prep schools and other opportunities in the US and Toronto. So I felt that if we could open up something local for our local talent, that we could do some things pretty special. And over the last 5 years, we've won a couple of national championships, and we've been able to kind of put Ottawa on the map, similar to what Carleton and has been doing on the university side. So I'm thrilled to be able to kind of bring this platform to Ottawa, and we've had some great success with some young student athletes that we can probably dive into further. But definitely love supporting youth and providing opportunities that lead to them graduating school, getting scholarships, and potentially playing professionally and making a career out of basketball. So thrilled to do it, and would love to expand later.
Thank you very much for that lovely introduction. And I know that when Devlin does sign on eventually, when they get that working, that he is very connected to you as well. And you do great work. And so I know you're a big supporter of the HERA mission and the work they're doing. Maybe I'll just jump into Kahmaria's first question, which I have written down, so I will read it. As founder, artistic director of Onyxstasia, African Diaspora Productions, you incorporate African culture into fashion, storytelling, dance, fitness, and well-being. You work to promote cultural heritage and develop positive African identity. You bring workshops to kids from all backgrounds to help them learn about the vast amount of Indigenous knowledge, culture, languages, and art from Africa, learning to respect what Africa has to offer. You embrace your ancestry through storytelling and dance. You share the message of Ubuntu in everything that you do. The idea that because you are, I am. Because you are human, I am human. The message of community and shared humanity. Why is all of this important to you?
Wow, do I do all that? That's awesome. Okay, so before I even answer that, we have to do a little participation, okay? We have to shake the calabash and we have to say Ubuntu, 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 Ubuntu. Yes, everything that I try to accomplish and when I reflect, it always comes back to Ubuntu and another word called Sankofa, but we'll get to that. But the most important one I feel like is Ubuntu. Why do I do it? Is because of Ubuntu. Ubuntu means that we're all human, we're all connected. It means that we all have a purpose, and without one, we can't have the other, or the other's lacking, you know? And this is a part of our humanity. And so when it comes to designing fashions, when it comes to doing the storytelling, when it comes to doing dance, when it comes to being an activist in my community, it's because of humanity. I want children to grow up in a world where their talents matter, their heritage matters, and is valued, right? Because we're all human and we all have these gifts, right, that we want to share. And without my gift, you know, a lot of people wouldn't benefit, right? I want people to benefit from my gifts and I want to benefit from other people's gifts, right? Our lives just become richer. So with that being said, I want to say that I realized very young that I know what it feels like to be left out. And this is coming from being a little girl, growing up in a community as a woman, a child who's from Jamaica, born in Jamaica, and not fitting in and not understanding why, and having, you know, all this, you know, love and, you know, inside of me that wasn't always received. I felt left out. And so I know what that feels like. So going back to my my business, I wanted to create something where children didn't feel left out, that everyone was included, right? So I'm hoping that that's something that dance does, you know. The other thing is, I also found out that what a difference it made when I knew my history. So as I grew up and I started working in a library and I was able to read more, I found out that I didn't know everything about myself and my people. And so once I started learning my history and understanding more about who I am and how great my people are, then I realized that that I had a lot of greatness in me. And so doing the fashion design, doing the storytelling, doing dance is about teaching young people that they have greatness in them. So whatever I was missing, I was hoping to do and accomplish with my business. And the other thing is heritage. I was suddenly connected to a heritage that I didn't know about, and that built my confidence. And so in building my confidence, I realized I had talents and that, you know, I didn't have to feel less than, right? And so I think that I'm hoping that, you know, that dance can bring some meaning to some children's lives. And I'm hoping that the storytelling will connect them to a heritage that they didn't know they had. And a people and a history and greatness. So that's kind of the purpose behind Onyxstasia and how it always kind of comes back to the foundation of Ubuntu. Yeah, I hope that helps.
That was beautiful. Yes, I love it. And I know that we did a workshop together. Well, really, you did the workshop. I just talked and introduced you. At a school with lots of kids, recently. And I know that all the kids felt that. The kids who do have African Caribbean heritage. And then also it was important for the kids who don't, who have a different heritage, to learn from you as well, and to see all the beautiful diversity, and to put your beautiful talent, you know, to that. When they think of Afro-Caribbean, you know, culture, then they think of you, and you're their new friend, and it's a lovely thing you do. Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It was so much fun working with those children and seeing their beautiful faces on the screen and seeing how happy they were to participate. And it didn't matter their background. Everyone can dance, everyone can participate, everyone can receive something, you know, and learn something, you know, from it, because the dance is connected to the people who made the dance. It's not, you're not just moving, it's connected to the people, and the people did it for a reason. And so you're connecting to all of those things, and it gives, when it has meaning, then there's substance to it. And that's kind of why I think that it's special, because, you know, it's not just moving, you're connecting yourself. It's about connection and connecting to humanity.
Yeah, and definitely the kids felt that, and it was beautiful. So we'll do more of those workshops too. We'll work on that. So your question, Tony. A few years ago, you started Canada Topflight Academy with the vision of it becoming the premier basketball academy in the world, but it's a lot bigger than basketball. You also focus on shaping the next generation of leaders, both on and off the court, supporting them to develop academically, emotionally, and athletically. So you also mentioned in the reading I did about you, the goal of creating a family atmosphere, thereby giving the youth the help they need to become the best they can be. What was your motivation for starting CTA?
Well, you hit kind of a few spots, but and then I talked about just being born and raised and just providing opportunities. So like dance does for so many, you know, we just leverage basketball and sport, and whether you're playing piano or just a great student, whatnot, you just got to find a specific talent and kind of leverage it. And so what we've done is, you know, we've created this basketball academy. However, there's a big portion of things to do with school and academics. You're a student athlete and you're in that order, right? So no matter what, you know, God forbid, even if you're a great basketball player, you get a career-ending injury, you still have a university degree. So many of these young men that we deal with are coming, you know, they're marginalized communities, they're, you know, the so-called youth at risk, but they're great young men that just need, you know, a chance or an opportunity. So, you know, leveraging, you know, all the great work that they're putting in on the courts, and then potentially coming to CTA, the message is loud and clear, is that you better take care of your grades, because I've been putting a lot of, you know, student athletes or our players are going on to play post-secondary, which is awesome, because sometimes, you know, these kids, we know they get distracted by what's happening in their communities, and we don't want them to fall into the dark side, whether it's gangs and drugs and, you know, all the other stuff that could happen. So, you know, leveraging basketball and their skill and their talent, to get the CTA, we want them to graduate high school, number one. And then number two, you know, our platform is allowing these, you know, young men to get scholarships. So places where, you know, you get your education free, it's paid for, because you're a really good basketball player. However, back to the student athlete, the university coach calls me and says, I really like Jimmy. And I go, great. And the next question out of the coach's voice is, what are Jimmy's grades like? So if you don't have the grades, you probably will not go, you know, beyond, or, you know, if you've got an 80% average, great. There's going to be more universities recruiting you, more doors are going to be open. If our guys are not showing up to class, they're not putting in the work ethic in the classroom, well, unfortunately, we take away the thing they love, basketball, until they get back on the straight and narrow. Because as we know, as I said, like, there's just so many distractions out there that we want to make sure that, first of all, you mentioned the family atmosphere. Well, a lot of times, I'm dad, I'm mom, I'm coach, I'm, guidance counselor, parole officer, social worker, I'm everything combined. So I don't treat this position lightly, because yes, we're going to create mentors and make sure that they don't make some of the mistakes that these other people are making in those communities. So from my standpoint, we talked about, and actually Leo brought it up, the African community here. Let's specifically talk Africa, because man, they're made to play basketball. South Sudan, Congo, Nigeria, Kenya. These are amazing physically athletes that, again, if they stay motivated, they stay focused, could basically go on and play professionally. So Ottawa is just this melting pot, and it's great. It's a diverse community, and there's just so many young men and athletes out there that could just use the break. So part of what CTA does is, unfortunately, we're trying to get some grants, but we go out and we identify, the best of the best, but we identify high character, low maintenance young men, and we'll invest in them. So I'll go out and fundraise to ensure that, there is a tuition fee, and it can be very expensive, but I don't want to leave anybody out. I can't scholarship everyone, but we definitely, when we go out and recruit and identify these young men in these communities, we try to include the best of the best, but they still have to prove that they're focused, that they're trying hard in school, and that they love basketball, and they'll put the work in. So, because as we know, luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity, and we're giving them the opportunity, and they better prepare to go to that next level. So we've done some amazing things for deserving young men, and we'll continue to do that in the community. And as I said, it's really rewarding, and that's kind of what's motivated me, is to just help deserving young men get to that next level.
I love that. Yeah. And I love the part on your website about it being a family, because the power of even just one adult, supporting and caring for a youth can make such a big difference. So that is beautiful. Thank you. And I think we have Peggy and Devlin back on screen. So Dev, if you want to unmute and introduce yourself, and if your mom wants to too, however you guys want to do this, that's awesome. And then I will read the question officially that I have for you after that, if that works.
Yes. Hi, my name is Devlin. I was adopted by my mom, Peggy, which is preoccupied at the moment. But yeah, and she brought me here to Canada.
And then you started the HERA mission together.
Yes, we started HERA mission.
Yeah. Which, and I get to know all about it because Devlin comes along with to my assemblies I run sometimes, and he gets to be a beautiful role model and tell all the youth at the schools we go to about what the HERA mission does. So the HERA mission supports Asembo Bay, Kenya, right?
Yes, it supports Asembo Bay and young women, young children, and young men in Africa. Yeah, and we go back there every year, but we can't this year because of COVID and that. But we do, and we also do a feeding day, and everyone in the village comes together and eat, and they can eat rice and food and that. And so, yeah, and we're proud to start HERA mission and support many young children back in Kenya.
And I love it. I love it because there's so many different areas you support. You support education, you support a group of women in employment. And so I think it's like farming, right? Like agriculture, because I know we've done things together where we helped sell chickens. So that you could buy a chicken for the village, and then the kids would draw you a beautiful picture of a chicken and we would mail it to you. That was the gift you got. And the real chicken went to Asembo Bay. Yeah, I think there's beekeeping. I think this is right. I think, goats and jewelry. There might be jewelry making too. So beautiful, all these beautiful things to empower the community to, be able to take care of themselves more, right? To build them up. Right. So that is the HERA mission. Now my official question for you, I'm going to read. So it says, I've known you for most of your life because you and my son first met and became friends in nursery school. And that's where we met. And we live kind of around the corner from each other. And then you've gone to school for the whole K-8 together too. And you've been an important part of World Changing Kids, as I already said. A good example of a youth making a positive difference in the world. You are co-founder of the HERA mission of Canada. You support women leading development projects to empower the community of Asembo Bay, the community where you were born. And you have so many amazing programs running there, helping the children with their education, helping with food security, economic development, and you've started a new mental health initiative, I think, particularly during this COVID time. So you're 14 now. What does HERA mean to you now?
As you know, HERA means love, and it's my middle name. And HERA is important to me because it keeps me connected to my home, my culture, and my birth family. HERA is not simply something we do, but it's who we are as a family. My mom taught me that our lives are better when we live to serve others. Kenya and HERA give me the gift of purpose as I get older. I know I will continue to do this work, and hopefully more. It's a mission of love.
Beautiful. Jazz hands, yeah, or snapping to show you we loved it. And I was just going through the participants again to see if anyone had any questions. There was a thumbs up for you. And it reminded me, as I mentioned, the nursery school connection, not to put anyone on the spot, but you might have one of your nursery school teachers who has joined today, which was very fun that she just reconnected with me about this. So that's cool. You can pop on later if you want to and say hi. Dana, if you want to. Yeah, so that, I think that is, I don't think the other speakers have made it yet. The other official panelists, we're missing Manock and Gwen, I think still. If you're here, just unmute and yell out, but I don't see you. So with that, I kind of have one more question to ask of the, of all the participants. So maybe I'll ask the question and then kind of pick you in order to go. I hope that works. So this kind of my last prepared, okay, I have two last prepared questions and then we'll open up to the audience. The world has been through an extraordinary time right now. In addition to living through the pandemic, we are also living through some unprecedented social change. So change that really needs to happen. How are you feeling about this moment? And what are you doing? What do you think we can do to ensure that it's more than a moment?
Well, thank you for that question. I think that I've been hearing the word moment and the word movement a lot these days. And I think that I've been hearing people trying to figure out what's the difference between a moment and the movement. And I think the movement has to do with your lifestyle, you know, something that doesn't just stop in the moment, but continues. And when I'm speaking from a teacher's background, a teacher believes that we should be continually learning, right? Even as an adult, we continue to learn, and as an adult, we can learn from children, right? And so for me, I think that when we think about this time, we have to think of it in terms of longevity, and that it should be something that continues, and we're continually learning, continually evolving, continually developing, right? We're not thinking of just right now. So whatever our actions, whatever we do now, we have to think that how it's going to affect people and generations long term. So when you think about education, your education never stops. And so this moment or this movement should never stop. Whatever you do now, you need to think about how it's going to impact children, generations from now. So I think it's just a mindset that you have to keep in mind, and it's been a long time coming, right? This is not something that, you know, just happened just now. It's been many years before, leading up to now. So I think it's important to even think about the past and think about history and think about why we are here at this point in history. So I think that's how I would like to think about it, and like to try to think about my actions in this moment in time. Yeah.
I love it that the continually learning part reminded me of the Maya Angelou quote, right? About do the best you can until you know better. And then once you know better, do better, which I think is a great framework for, yeah, life and everything. Oh, but Devlin, one thing, I want to say two things because I missed something in the chat while I was talking. After your answer, after your part, there was a comment, proud of Devlin and Peggy doing great work back home. And that was from Sarah. And then Tony said, Devlin is a real inspiration too. So I just wanted to make sure you heard those comments. Yeah, so now we'll pass it to Tony for the same question. The question again, the world has been through an extraordinary time. In addition to living through the pandemic, we are also living through some unprecedented social change that really needs to happen. How are you feeling about this moment? And what are you doing? What do you want to do to ensure it is more than a moment?
Well, it's been a heck of a moment, about what, 16 months, if we want to just talk about a pandemic. It's been a life lesson, I think, for everybody. And what I mean by a life lesson is that, nobody said it was going to be easy. I think that at the end of the day, everyone has faced a lot of adversity, and specifically, again, we're talking about kids, African kids. It doesn't matter. Our youth have really gone through some pretty tough times, this virtual learning, wearing masks. I mean, this has really challenged them. And, obviously lots of mental health issues, but it doesn't matter, how old you are. This has been, a heck of a moment. But I think at the end of the day, I'll just use one word of hope. And I think that's what kind of gets everybody by. There's hope, there's light at the end of the tunnel. And I think that, again, my hat's off to everybody who's kind of just, kind of seen it through, because personally, we've been through a lot, just my own family financially, and having to, it's a basketball word, pivot, and have to do whatever you had to do to again get by. But and then the social movements, of course, the Black Lives Matter. If we don't, especially from my standpoint, there's systemic racism. There's no two ways about it. The fact that, again, Black Lives Matter, some of these other movements that just, again, they bring light to it. And as a prep school guy who has predominantly, non-Caucasian athletes, Black athletes, I always use the term as far as walking into a restaurant. My white son, we played hockey. My hockey team walks into a restaurant, it's kind of okay. My basketball team walks in and there's just sort of something off. And I'm not saying, whatever that is, but it's almost like they, are you finished? Are you rushing? Like, get us out. So I'm not blind to it. I'm white, but at the end of the day, I think just bringing up these great topics and just being aware of it is one step, and then now trying to figure out the best way to deal with it. But I think the pandemic has brought light to a lot of these issues, and I think they're great issues that, again, no one has the answers. We're not going to get to it tomorrow or next week. But, hopefully in the months and years to come, everything will be, kind of on a little bit more equal playing field. And as I said, I see it firsthand through my athletes' eyes. And again, proud of what they've been able to do, proud of all the youth that have just been able to battle through this moment. But I'll be glad when this moment is done and we can get back to the courts, the rink, the classrooms, and all that stuff. So just hang in, everybody. And let's just keep hoping that we get.
Yeah, that is lovely. I think that the pandemic has forced us to not look away to a lot of this too, which is good, I guess. That might be a silver lining, that it's showing a lot of the inequity and hasn't let us look away from it. So hopefully we can keep moving with that. There's a comment here that I'll read quickly. There is indeed light at the end of the tunnel. For an African child, it's been double vulnerability with this pandemic, considering that most of our families are below the poverty line. Closure of schools brought zero hope to us. Example, in Malawi, since the pandemic, there has been over 40,000 teenage pregnancies and 15,000 child marriages. So that is definitely a reality that is different than here in Ottawa. And again, it's important that we know about that and learn about it and have these conversations. So thank you for that comment. So maybe what we'll do is we'll open it to questions from the audience. You can, if you want to raise your hand with the little symbol that shows up in the side. If you want to write it in the chat, I can read it. If you want to just write in the chat that you have a question, I can call on you. We'll just figure it out. We'll make it work. I know that my daughter did have a question, so maybe I'll let her go. Do you want to go, Hazel? And yes. Yeah, that the last one you wrote is good if you want to jump in and read that.
Okay, so I guess this is directed at Tony.
Tony.
So you mentioned men a lot of times during your speech. So what about women? Do you work with women, or are you attempting to incorporate them into your program currently?
Yes, so we did have a women's program for a couple of years. And because of the pandemic, we've unfortunately had to drop the program. So we are going to do something for young ladies. As I said, we had a successful couple of years, but as I said, this moment took a program away, just again, but we're not, this is no slight. So in the coming years, we will definitely add another, women's program sooner than later.
Yes, that it's impressive that you've even been able to keep the men's program up and running during this time.
That was the goal. That was the goal, and like I said, yeah, just to keep the lights on and everybody keep going. But as I said, definitely the intent is to add, expand and bring back a women's program.
Excellent. Okay, did anyone else? There was a comment. So the comment was, they, in quotation marks, don't blend in, but nor do they. People we thought who were going to be there, but now finding ways to get up on our own. So I guess that's probably, if I'm guessing correctly, kind of during the pandemic, that there has been a need. Yes, okay, there's a yes. So yeah, people who we thought were going to be there, finding ways to get up on our own. It's definitely been a lesson in resilience and hopefully being able to reach out to others to help. I know that's happened for me. Definitely motivated me to help, to reach out more and see how everyone's doing in my circle and in my community, because we all are needing help. Leo, did you want to read your question?
Sure. And maybe Kahmaria, given your experience, part of the diaspora community and with organizations like the Somali Center, I mean, an issue, and Tony may think about this as well, that, I mean, people who are engaged, as allies, if you will, with the African Canadian community, but you're, I'm not of African descent, you walk a fine line between trying to be supportive of people and communities and not wanting to exploit them. And an example I'm thinking of is, I mean, my friend from university, Raylene Lang, ran for city councillor in Alta Vista. And I was out knocking on doors for her. She lost by, I think, 270 votes. A line that I didn't feel comfortable crossing in that campaign was, I had a lot of relationships with low-income people in the Somali Center. I helped start a basketball league with the Somali Center, with people in Sandalwood, Cedarwood, and I kind of felt like if I started dragging my friend in to meet these people, that I'd be exploiting a relationship for political power, and it didn't really. And I kind of regret it now. But it's kind of, you walk a fine line, like the relationship of trust. It takes a long time. Tony's been at this 30 some years in Ottawa. It takes a long time to build relationships with communities of which you're not naturally a part. But I do think that sometimes opportunities are lost because we don't, we don't make stuff political the way we should make it political. Any thoughts on that?
I think, Leo, what you're bringing up, this issue of trust is extremely important. You do need to be very patient, but you also have to remember that there's a reason why there's an issue of trust. And I think that is what you need to address first before you can build. There has to be a foundation of an understanding. You have to show that you understand where they're coming from to make that connection. I think that you need to almost, I wouldn't use the word prove, but actions speak louder than words, right? And so I know that there's a lot of, in this moment and in this movement, there's a lot of organizations who are looking at diversity when it comes to different corporations and businesses. And they're saying that, you know, you say that you want diversity, but do you have diversity? So I need to see that you have certain people on your staff. I need you to show me that I'm included and that you value me and my community. And I think that's where you can, you know, you can build a stronger foundation for trust when they can see that they're included. It's one thing to say it and another thing to actually do it. So I think that I would look at also languages. A lot of these communities are multilingual, and when you come and if you might even want to equate it to the Francophone community. A lot of times you cannot go to a Francophone community without someone who speaks Francophone. So you need to, when you talk about allyships and partnerships, you need to partner with people who speak the language, the native language, the traditional languages of the community that you're going to, and approach them with respect and with love and you know, with honor. So that's how you build trust with a community. You show them that you understand where they're coming from and you value their culture. Yeah, that's what I would say. Thank you for asking that.
Thank you for answering.
That was an excellent question and opportunity to learn. If anybody has any questions, they can jump in. I do have one more kind of for both Tony and Kahmaria that I could jump in with. Yeah, so kind of given all this, I don't know, Kahmaria, we'll put you on the spot first again, maybe. Given all this talk about, you know, the social change that's happening, what else? What should kind of the next change look like? What does change? What does the continuation of this good work we're doing look like to you?
I think for me, it looks like normalizing, you know, diversity, normalizing, you know, life. It's just, you know, like this, you know, conversation that we're having, it's about implementing everything that we're saying. You know, when it comes to, like, I think initially I was talking about knowing what it feels like to be left out. So I would say that the next step is, you know, having children growing up not knowing what that feels like to be left out. So what type of work do we need to do in order to make that happen? I have two teenagers / adults at my home, and that is the next generation, and they do know what it feels like to be left out as well. So we need to think about the generation after them. You know, we want them to grow up in a community where they feel valued and included. I've been doing some work with the Ottawa Carleton District School Board on different committees. We talked about removing police from schools. I think that's a part of it. That conversation is very, very important. We talked about streaming academics, you know, knowing that my choice of, you know, my talents and my, you know, my dreams and aspirations are valued and not, you know, streamed and put in different boxes. You know, that's going to help the next generation. You know, we also talk about, ensuring that youth graduate, you know, of all different races, because right now there's this kind of imbalance when it comes to the color of my skin. I can determine whether or not you're going to graduate when you look at the data, actual data, disaggregated data. So when we talk about the next generation, those, that's just one institution, that's just education alone. So, when we talk about healthcare, that's another institution. How can we have children growing up and knowing that they're going to get the best care possible, regardless of the color of their skin? Those are the things. So if we kind of put ourselves in the kind of mindset that we want real inclusion and normalize inclusion, then I think that we're moving towards the right direction.
Those are all amazing suggestions and like actionable items. And yeah, the education part is very important if we're talking about youth especially. And yes, thank you for those good points. Tony, did you want to give some thoughts about, what does change look like and what should we continue to keep doing?
Well, no, and it all starts with the conversation. And I also think, you've got champions in the community that are important. Leo's a champion. We're all kind of champions, or we can be champions if you take that, that mandate on. But, Manock, who unfortunately isn't here, he's doing an amazing job. So I think the fact that we're having conversations and then there's action, but there's also the champions that activate, change. And the day that, like, one of my conversations with my guys is that unfortunately they've got to act in a different way. I mean, when I was going to high school, 5 or 6 of my friends, we would walk into a McDonald's, no problem. But you talk about 6'8", 6'9", loud, boisterous young guys, black, that just want to have some fun. All of a sudden there's a profile. And the day that we lose that kind of stereotype and profile where people are uncomfortable, I let my guys know that. I go, unfortunately, it's different for you. And the day that it's not different is the day we've made some strides, right? So at the end of the day, conversations, championing, and then people doing some good, not only just for the Black community, but for good for everyone. But here at CTA, we're definitely trying to again help young men get to where they need to go. We don't want them dying on the streets in gangs. We don't want them selling drugs. At the end of the day, stay out of jail. Just be good citizens. And as I said, it's the conversation and champions that provide opportunities.
Yeah, that's a really important part, just having the conversations. I know there's a blog post, an article that Peggy had shared years ago. And I'm going to try to paraphrase it, and then I can share it maybe with the email list if everyone wants to read it. But I think it's titled and Kahmaria, I think I've told you about this before, that it's to the white parents of my Black son's friends, white friends, right? So it was very fitting to me raising my son with Devlin and Peggy as our friends. And it kind of started by saying all that you're saying, like, while my son is young, he's a beautiful, cute Black boy. And as he gets older, he'll start to be seen different than your son is seen, and if they're playing together at the park, like, tell your son that he can't put up his hood and run away because my son can't, and so teaching, my son the realities of the reality, and then giving an action, like saying to my son, like, just stand, don't run away, don't go pool hopping and jump people's fences, because it's a different reality for others. And yeah, to just talk about that when they're really young. So I read that, I get teary-eyed every time I try to read it to my kids, but I kind of read it like every year, as we were growing up. And I think that's a super important thing. So I thank Peggy for sharing that so many years ago. Peggy came on and left again. So I feel like the Wi-Fi is not working for her there. But we also are kind of at our hour, which I thought was a good time. And what I'm thinking, because we didn't have Manock, which breaks my heart because I was really excited to meet him, and your idea, Tony, about keeping the conversation going, I think we should do this again. It doesn't have to be just because of the International Day of the African Child, I think we should do it again. And we should maybe, you know, highlight Manock the next time, and Gwen, if we can get her. But Kahmaria, of course, I would love to have you back because I love speaking with you all the time. And Tony, yeah, we could just bring this crew back together with additional, maybe do a monthly, you know, workshop. Maybe that's the commitment that we make out of this. Yeah, so I think, yes, does anybody have any last minute questions before we wrap up?
I just have a comment, and I just want to say that this conversation has been a beautiful conversation because of the allyship that is not in denial of everything that they've seen and that's going on. And I think it's related to that story that you were talking about. Oh, there's Manock.
You have Manock. Okay, so, okay, we won't leave then yet. And Kahmaria, you finish, and then I'll move over right to Manock to introduce you, okay? Does that work? Perfect.
Sure. I just wanted to applaud you and all the speakers and all the audience that you know, has you know, that's acknowledging the reality of the African child. Is basically what I'm saying. You know, that there's something to be said about acknowledging that this is not a figment of someone's imagination, and I think that you know, also the word gaslighting always keeps coming up in a lot of conversation, because now we understand what it really means. It's like pretending or dismissing, you know, the realities, the lived experiences of African Caribbean Black people. And when it comes to African Caribbean Black children, we cannot dismiss them and their experiences. And that's why this conversation is really beautiful. So I just want to thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for always teaching me so much every time I talk to you. I love it. Okay, so Manock, what we'll do is we will let you introduce yourself, tell a little bit about what you're doing, the awesome work you do, and then I will read the prepared question I have for you. We've kind of done this with the other 3 speakers that we had at the beginning, but I'm so excited that you're here, and I will turn it over to you for that introduction.
So before I start, you guys can hear that alarm in the back. Sorry guys about the noise. Fire alarm in the building. It's not been the best day, right? But we're gonna turn it around.
But you're safe. You don't have to leave. It's not
No,
you.
I'm safe. It's
Okay.
just kind of like what's happening in the background. Yeah. So to everybody, my name is Manock Lual. I am the CEO and founder of PrezDential Basketball, which is a social enterprise that is dedicated to bridging the gap faced by disadvantaged youth. What we do is we use basketball as a tool to kind of get the kids interested in learning different tools that they need for their life. So basketball is a tool to get the kids, but once we have them, we'd introduce them to more life skills that are gonna transfer to their actual day-to-day life, which is actually going to be meaningful for them.
That is amazing. And yeah, I have to say, with the reading I did about you and the videos that I watched, well, I won't say it because I think it's in my question. If I say it and then I read my question to you, it'll be repetitive. So let me just read my question. Yes. Okay. So the question is, you started PrezDential to help youth discover and express their voice through basketball and experience the power of transformation through growth and life skills, both on and off the court. I read something where you said that growing up in Overbrook with a huge influx of first-generation immigrants from around the world, that experience showed you that there was so much brilliance, leadership, and diversity of culture and artistic expression in your community. And the only thing that was missing was the resources needed to support the youth in reaching their dreams. So now you are helping give the youth the resources and support they need to become leaders and world changers. Tell me more about your program and what it is you're trying to accomplish with the young people you are working with.
It's funny, like I haven't really shared this a lot to everybody, but recently I was fortunate enough to start doing therapy, and this has allowed me to go over the trauma that I haven't been able to deal with, because I've learned that I rationalize a lot of things, and I think we all do that. So what I learned in therapy this last couple of weeks was that when I was growing up, life was not a safe space. There wasn't opportunities for me that I wish I had, and that part of that has impacted me in such a way that I'm so focused right now on creating safe spaces for young men and young women coming up right now. So it's really the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing, and literally what we do is provide a need for everything that I saw was not there while I was coming up. So my programs are tailored to the specific area we're dealing with. Some areas we're dealing with situations where there's so much talent, but there's no organizational classroom structure. And then some areas we're dealing with kids that have amazing talent and great academical structure, but they don't have the confidence. And that's also another skill that they need. So my job, I feel, when I wake up day to day, is to make sure I give somebody a piece of me that I did not have, so that they can kind of go along their way a lot clearer and easier than it was for kids that were growing up in my time.
I love it. That is beautiful. Thank you. And yes, congratulations on starting therapy. Yes, jazz hands or the sign language clap. Yeah. And the therapy will also help you with boundaries as you are giving pieces of yourself too, which is why I started therapy recently as well. So that is all. Yes, I'm learning that right now too. How you are a giver without completely depleting yourself because you want to create a safe world for all the kids. Yeah, that's what I'm working on too. So we'll have to have a longer conversation about that one day. So the other kind of prepared question that I had asked the other participants, which I will throw to you now, is the world has been through an extraordinary time. In addition to living through the pandemic, we are also living through some unprecedented social change that really needs to happen. How are you feeling about this moment? And what are you doing to ensure that it is more than a moment?
I guess we've been lucky to be working in a space since we started where we wanted to create something that represents what's happening right now in the world, right? A space where there's total inclusion. And there's been a lot of great things that have been happening in the last year or so, but I have seen that the momentum has started to slow down. So it's a very good question when you're asking, what are we doing? What we're doing is we're living, I'm living in a way every single day that another young man of color or just BIPOC in general can look at me and be like, that represents what I want to be, you know? And I think that it's very important that we all live that, whether you're BIPOC or not. And there's plenty of people in this room. I see Tony House, I see Leo Doyle. I see great men that have created spaces for young men like me that need the mentorship and the understanding to get to the next stage, and an open door. So I think there's got to be situations where people that have power are still opening doors for people that are coming up next to create spaces for themselves.
Yes, that is beautiful. Yes, more jazz hands, more clapping, more. Yeah, that's beautiful. And just before you came on, Manock, because we actually didn't get Gwen on, and Peggy and Devlin came on and kept leaving because their Wi-Fi wasn't working. So what we were talking about is continuing this and doing this again, even with these speakers, and maybe even making it like, okay, I'm just saying things out loud without asking anyone what they think about it. But as an idea, you know, we could do this like as a monthly series and come up with different questions and bring different people in so we can continue to, you know, highlight the good work that you are all doing. So that's a possibility. And there was a comment kind of about that. Great discussion. Happy to hear everyone's experiences and initiatives to move forward. So I kind of take that as a that would be good. We could keep doing this. Any online classes was a question. Through World Changing Kids, I do have online classes for kids. So I don't know if that question, I don't even know if Stephanie is still here who asked the question. Oh, she is. So yes, I can share with you online classes for kids. Kahmaria, yes, you do online classes for kids. So we'll let you jump in.
Yeah, I do. I'm partnering with Jacko Combat right now to do some African Caribbean history classes for children under 12. Jacko Combat currently does African history classes for adults and I think youth as well, teenagers. So I thought that it would be fun and appropriate to, again, you know, help young people of African descent connect to their heritage, connect to themselves, and build their confidence in knowing who they are. So I do, the history classes include, songs, dance, games, chanting, it's very interactive. And so I'll be doing that in the month of July on Saturdays. So, that is something that is very important for young children of African descent to connect to, and to be in a room where there's other faces that look like them and they can connect. There's a lot of to be said about representation. We talk about that a lot, and I think Manock was kind of touching on that when, in terms of mentorship and seeing, someone embody something that you want to be. So I think that that's important, but it's also something to be said about being among your peers and, with other children who look like you, that it's important too as well.
And then, as we mentioned before, Kahmaria and I did have an awesome workshop that I did through World Changing Kids, so kind of invited families from my community to it, and then we brought it to a school. So if anybody wants this workshop, we can do that as well. It was awesome and fantastic. So what I'll do, yes, so Stephanie, I have your email because I sent you this link. So Kahmaria, if you send me the info on what you have, I can pass that on to Stephanie, and I'll put in the stuff about our workshop too. We can do that tomorrow or later tonight or whatever. And yes, I will get that to you for sure. Peggy just texted saying she's still not connecting. So I do think that maybe that's the end for tonight of that, unless anyone had any more questions. I don't want to cut anyone. Let me go through. I have to scroll through to see if anyone has their hand up. Oh, although it looks like Gwen is here. If Gwen is here.
Yes, I'm here. Okay, I can hear you now.
Oh, perfect.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. I'm so sorry. I'm here on site from the Tabor with Devlin and Peggy. I was in the process of getting food for the children and their families. All the children outside are really excited. I wish I could show you. They're all wearing t-shirts. Everybody's very happy. I think I can show you folks a little bit of where we're at. Just 1 second. So there you can see some of the children. They all wrote some messages about school and what they missed from school. Everybody here is extremely grateful for Peggy, for the HERA mission and the work that they are doing, not just back home, but also here in Canada with African children. A lot of the children who reside here are homeless children of African descent. They come from various countries of the motherland. Some of them are refugees. We even have the case of a child that was a child soldier before, who is dealing with a lot of issues of, with a lot of issues of violence. And what we realize is that what some of these kids need is just love and knowing that people are there for them and that people care for them. And what we've done with Peggy over the last year, and with the help of Manock, I think Manock was here today, or I don't know if he's still here, but what we've done is that we've developed a meals program to assist families, but we also developed an employment program and our own free store for families to be able to have access to things, where we even give them the keys so they can go inside without us being there, and they can take whatever they want shamelessly. And what we were able to do over the past year is really build a sense of community, a real sense of community in which the parents, the families trust us and also know that there are people who care for them, who genuinely care for them. I personally am here every day at noon, every single day. I live not far from the building. I am here in this building, and we try our best to just to give back, but to also learn from others. When we come here with an attitude of gratitude, and we come here also knowing that when we speak to people in our language, they listen with their mind, but when we speak to them in their language, they listen with their hearts. And sometimes the language isn't just the spoken language, it's the food that they eat. When we bring injera bread to Ethiopian families that are here, just the look in their face, like, wow, how did you know? Thank you so much. Food that we recognize, food that we can eat, food that are not canned, that we don't know how to cook. And so when we develop these programs, we try our very best to develop them in a way that respects the needs and the cultures of the people that we're working with.
That's beautiful. Yes, we're doing, Gwen, at the beginning, we said this means that we're cheering you on and we're sending you
Yes.
love. Yeah, that we love.
Thank you so much.
So I do have a prepared question for you. Can I read it now?
Of course.
You're good? Okay. Okay, so let me find the right paper. Here we go. Yes, to learn more about Equal Chance as well. So you started Equal Chance around the Black Lives Matter March with the mission of equipping Black Canadians with tools to fight the barriers formed against them and to help build a society with equal chances and opportunities for everyone. You have so many amazing programs listed on your website, like Meals for Homeless Black Children and Families, free counseling, financial literacy training. You did talk a little bit about the food program for sure. Are there more programs that you could talk about and what you're
Well,
trying to accomplish?
we have another program called Afroworld, and this program is to combat racism and also to teach folks in Canada about Black history in Canada. And as part of this program, we have the Canadian Black History Month Gala that was first the University of Ottawa's gala that I founded back in 2010 with the support of Michaëlle Jean and her husband, Jean-Daniel Lafont. And one day I had the big dream of inviting Nelson Mandela to get this award, and he passed, but his family showed up at the University of Ottawa. And from there, we developed a great relationship. And together we built the Canadian Black History Month Gala here in Ottawa. We had Reverend Sharpton, Naomi Campbell, and other public personalities come to Ottawa to receive the very same award that we were giving to other members of the Black community who are achieving greatness, who are inspiring us, who are helping the community, but also to allies. We had, I think, 4 awards that we were giving to allies because we understood that on their journey towards justice and freedom, our ancestors had allies who were not Black. And to combat racism, it takes all people in our society, and racism isn't our business. We didn't invent it. And so we have to hold folks accountable, and we have to hold important, honest, open conversations with people. And so we created Afroworld. We actually have our festival lunch that will be next week that we co-hosted with Cardinal Official. It's going to be just a beautiful, beautiful festival. We have a lot of kids, the kids here at the table, the African kids here involved, other kids from across the city. And you talked about Equal Chance. And yes, the reason why I founded Equal Chance actually was based on my own experience of racism. That was in 2019. I was working at an organization where I was told by my Black colleague, and I were told by another colleague, we don't eat with Black people, you need to eat outside. And when I filed a complaint to the HR department, I was punished. I was told that because I filed this complaint, this person, I wasn't allowed to move out of the 15th floor. Our offices were on 3 or 4 floors until the investigation was done. The investigation took 1 month. So for 1 month, I would get to work, and I would say I would get to jail and basically drop my bag, and I was no longer allowed to leave my office until it was done. I wasn't allowed to attend meetings or anything like this because the racist lady didn't feel comfortable crossing my path, and she would make up stuff. So even when I would go to the washroom, her friend would say Gwen was at the washroom, and she would enter a report that I harassed her. And an outside investigator came in and concluded that that was a lie and that she was racist. So they had to let her go. But they made my life extremely difficult. I became pregnant with my first child. And at 8 months pregnant, I requested maternity leave. They told me that I was the first woman in 40 years of their organization to become pregnant, and that they didn't have a maternity leave policy, but they had something better for me, and that I needed to be grateful for what they were trying to offer me, which was a telework agreement that only gave me 3 weeks with my child. At 8 months pregnant with not much money, I was afraid. I didn't think that anyone else would hire me. I didn't know much about my rights, my human rights, or my rights as a worker. So I signed the agreement. My child was born. 10 days after his due date, and he was born with feeding difficulties. He couldn't eat. The third day after they sent us home, he started peeing blood, and I brought him to the hospital and I fed him with an NG tube for a year. We were at the hospital for 2 months. 3 weeks after I gave birth, they started telling me I needed to get back to work. They didn't care. They pretended, oh yes, like sending me messages, oh, how are you? But it was really, how are you? Can you start doing this job? And so I passed you a lot of details. Came the Commission on the Status of Women, the 63rd session at the UN. They asked me if I could use my contacts to get them a high-level meeting with Phumzile Mlambo Busuka, who is a brilliant Black woman, the executive director of UN Women. I did everything and I managed to get this super high-level meeting that is normally reserved to ministers and head of states and other folks, to my supervisor. And 2 weeks before the trip, and I passed you the fact that they had not renewed Tendy's contract, the other Black girl. The other Black guy, he asked for a raise. When he asked for a raise, they told him that the government cut funding. There was no more money to pay him, and they let him go. And the other Black lady that worked there quit because she was getting harassed by her boss. And so I was the only Black person alone. 2 weeks before the trip, they tell me that there's no more money, but that they need me there. And so while I watched all of my colleagues, non-Black, take a 1-hour flight to New York, I had no other choice but to be in a 11-hour bus ride to New York. And Tendy, who was my previous colleague, she's well Black, her mom is Chinese, her dad is Black from Zimbabwe. And she took this bus in solidarity with me to New York. And in the bus ride, we were laughing and crying and wondering, why are we even here? Why are we doing this? And I told her, you know what, Tendy, for me, I have a bigger vision in my head. I see my own foundation and I see you working with me. And I'm going there to build contacts for our community. I'm not going there for them. I'm going there for us and for all the people, for all of our people, to ensure that tomorrow, no one else has to go through this. So a few months later, and this is the last story of this workplace that I will share amongst so many horrible things, they forced me to bring my child to work. Although I had a telework agreement, it said that we had an important meeting with Global Affairs, and I absolutely need to be there because I have the contacts at Global Affairs Canada. So I bring my child to work, and a colleague insults my child and I, and tells me to take my effing, another word that I would not repeat, referring to my child, referring to the color of my child, sick child, out of the workplace, and that my child and I should just go back and live at CHIO, at the Children's Hospital. I was able to record this conversation. I was on WhatsApp with my sister and she said, record. And I started recording, doing voice notes so that I had proof. I followed the protocols of the work. I went to complaint to the person before the HR that they asked us to complain to. The person was defending the colleague because they're the same race. And I understood that I was alone and my child was alone. And in the tape, you can hear my child crying because she actually got on my child's face. And that's when he was 11 months at the time with the tube in his nose. And I took him out of this place. And so I went and complained to HR and I gave the tape. And what HR said was, by the time you came from the 15th floor to the 9th floor, the person that you went to complain to filed an harassment email against you, saying that you falsely accused her employee and that you made her employee unsafe. So she asked me to attach the tape and send it to them. I did. I attached the tape, and the next day, the person I complained to and the racist lady all went on sick leave, stating that I stressed them because I recorded them in a workplace and broke trust boundaries, or I don't know, they made up something. And so I left completely broken. And the next day I had to get in a plane to Colombia to go to the Organization of American States for another meeting. And I had an encounter there with some NBA players and the wife of the assistant coach of the Orlando Magics, who saw this woman make me work from 5 a.m. until 11 p.m. in the executive room that all these players had access to. They were there for a program called NBA Without Borders. And that encounter changed my life, because on the night before we left, Dante, the wife of the assistant coach, called me and said, I want to talk to you. I see the way this woman is treating you. And if you need help, I can help you, but you need to leave this workplace. And so we started talking, and I was crying, and I explained to her, and that was 11 p.m. midnight. I am explaining to this woman the situation and what I lived and my hopes to build my own foundation. And she tells me, I will help you. So when I got back to Canada, I had one more trip to do. After that trip, I gave my resignation letter. And the day I gave my resignation letter is the day I started Equal Chance, and I started really working. And it was a full circle moment for me when a year later, for the commission, the CSW 63rd session at the UN, Commission on Status of Women, whereas the year before I was taking an 11-hour bus to New York. The year after, I was able to sponsor 6 young Black women through Equal Chance, through the Desjardins group, to fly to New York, to have access to their incredible VIP lounge. And for me, it was a moment in my life where I realized that we cannot be defined by our circumstances. We cannot allow ourselves to be defined by the words of others. We cannot allow ourselves to be defined by racist people. We can only fight racism with excellence, with love, and just by uniting all people and shutting off the noise. There are far more things that unite us than divide us. And we have the power within ourselves to change the world. We have the power within ourselves to change our world. And so I decided to change my world and that of my community. And I'm happy. I don't get paid at Equal Chance. Rare are the times that we get paid. Only when we get some funding. And even to obtain funding as a Black organization, it's so difficult. And this is why I would like to also express my gratitude again to Peggy, because she has accepted through her foundation and through even Briere to accept some donations for us, so that myself and the staff, were only 3 people, so that myself and the staff, as we're only 3 people, can get paid from time to time, but so that most importantly, our programs keep happening. And I'm happy to tell you that since the start of Equal Chance, there's not a week that we haven't been able to feed a family, although we have almost nothing, low means, you know. We had a headphones project for which the HERA mission helped us as well with the headphones project, and we were able to collect and distribute 1,067 headphones to low-income and homeless children in temporary housing who share their spaces. I'm actually in one of those spaces now, of one of the families, 7 family members in a 1-bedroom apartment who now have to share their study spaces. And so we are extremely grateful. We're grateful for HERA and for all of you who are here today. Thank you so much.
Wow. Thank you for, jazz hands and the snapping means we loved the story. We're sending you love. There was a comment in the chat that I will read from one of the youth. Oh, we might have lost Gwen though. One of the
no, I'm here.
They're still okay. One of the comments questions was, wow, a lot of that sounds very illegal. Is it illegal to not have 1 year of maternity leave in Canada? And could you sue?
Oh, absolutely. And here's the thing, right? I got some lawyers involved. I asked for help. I cried for help. I have all the emails, and no one wanted to take my case because it was another minority group in Canada. And I even had a lawyer tell me if it was white people, we would have taken the case. But you and us don't want that problem. And for me, it's, till this day, it's kind of bittersweet because I have all the proof. I have everything. And I know that, you know, sometimes I just think, you know, it really hurts me because as the president of now Equal Chance, that is a foundation that advocates for members of our community with other organizations. We believe in partnership. We believe in partnering with other Black people and other organizations. I'm supposed to defend and help others fight for their rights. And here I am as the president of this foundation. And I was denied even help from certain lawyers who said, we don't want to take that case, it's too risky. A lawyer even told me, you know what, Gwen, sometimes your peace of mind is better. Go on to become a bigger person and do better things in your life, but just leave them alone. And so I was never able to get justice. I contacted 5 lawyers, and the 5th lawyer is the one who's a very high profile lawyer. She told me, I can take your case, but you'll have to pay me $15,000. I didn't have that money, right? I take my son to occupational therapy, physiotherapy, chiropractor every week. And so all of this we pay on our own. And, you know, thinking, where am I going to take $15,000? I would rather invest that in my son. And this is where the problem is, right? Is that a lot of us don't always have access to these resources. And so this is why we even tried, last year when the young Natwali Bashizi, a young Black man who was actually studying law, was falsely accused at a park here. I don't know, maybe you've seen this in the news, by a white woman who weaponized 911 against this young Black man, saying that she was in danger, and he was able to film it to show that she was lying. When this happened with Natwali, I helped him, I supported him. I was able to find a lawyer who represented him. You know, they have, I call it the sexy cases, the cases that everybody wants to take, right? So he had one of those cases. But what we did is we developed a fund through lawyer Michael Spratt. We developed a fund to help anybody that faces racism, whether it's with the police or any institutions or workplace. Now they will have access to that money to potentially sue their workplace. I didn't have that, but that experience allowed me now to be in a better place where I can develop these resources with the help of the community. Yes, it's illegal. Yes, I should have had maternity leave. Yes, I should have had, more resources. And when it came to even the racism that I faced at work, they didn't equip me even with a psychologist to help me with the trauma that I was going through. There was no one, there was no peer help, nothing at all. There's so many things that they've breached, but because it's a certain group, I'm told you need to let that go. And when I tell you, every lawyer, I have the emails, I sat down in lawyers' offices, I had lawyers try their best to convince me to just let it go.
Wow. Yeah, that is a lot. There is a comment that Sarah's comment was, incredible story of resilience, so inspiring. You are an amazing role model to children and youth. So.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And Sarah is equally an inspiration to all of us. I've known Sarah since I was a child, and I would watch her. She was the master of the MC and the host for many African events that were led by African ambassadors, the Association of African Ambassadors here. And it's kind of also a full circle moment for me, because next week she's going to be the one leading the conversation around racism with the ambassador of South Africa and some other people that will be there in the Byward Market. So if some of you are in Ottawa on the 26th and 27th, for the first time ever, the Byward Market strips will be given to Black vendors who will be selling their items. And so we were able to do this through the African Canadian Association of Ottawa and Equal Chance. And that's part of the Afroworld program that I was talking about. And Sarah is a radio personality. And I think that I would speak for a lot of people when I say that we also look up to you, Sarah. So thank you very much for being such a great role model for us too.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Anyone have any comments, questions for Gwen or for anyone? There was a comment about the most awkward stopping moments. Yes, Stephanie, there are. I've gotten very used to this Zoom format where you just have to be comfortable with the pause for a few minutes, so that everyone catches up. Oh, another comment. Sarah responded to you, Gwen. You're too kind. You're too kind, Gwen. This community's future is in good hands with young people like you and Devlin leading the way with so much love and selflessness.
Thank you so much.
So with that said, does anyone else have any comments or questions or want to jump in with anything? I do think we will see about doing this again in a month, kind of keep the conversation going, invite this group back, maybe another panelist or two. We can talk about that for sure, see what the interest is. On a small administration note, Gwen, Peggy and I have been chatting, and I had been collecting items from our neighborhood. So kids in our neighborhood of Alta Vista, because Peggy and I are neighbors, have sent me, I have a whole bunch of toys and clothes. I have a crib. Peggy just kept saying, your free store can take everything. So
yes, absolutely. Well, we hope that we'll be able to keep our free store because of funding. We've applied for some funding. It's not easy. We don't know if next month we'll have our free store. I hope we will. And so I'll keep you posted for that, because this is a place that we're trying to maintain. It's our office, it's our free store. But because we don't have access to much funding, we might have to let that space go.
Okay, that's something we should talk about too, because there was a lot of interest in this community in Alta Vista, because we all know Peggy and Devlin as well. And I brought them up through World Changing Kids. So we have a lot of great kids who are engaged right here. So we can do more. Like a lot of people were like, what is this community? Where are we helping? And I said, I don't know, I'll learn about it tonight. But I was gonna pop over. I don't know if you'll still be there later. Peggy said to come.
Yes, you should definitely come.
Okay.
And you know, like I was saying earlier, I see Manock here, and like Manock is also one of the greatest leaders that we have in the community, who has such a powerful story of resilience, who transformed his pains, who transformed the insults, the racism, the doubts of others into something so powerful, not just for Black kids, but for all kids, all children, and who formed PrezDential Hoops, and who gave back such a big sense of hope to a whole community in Overbrook, and who was able to rally not just the youth, but the elders, and create that bridge between the youth and the elders, and obtain the respect of so many young people who also face great adversity. And so he has helped me a lot. He has showed up a lot for the children at the table here. And he is, for me, I have the word in French, but the embodiment of Black excellence. And he is the story of Black men that we don't always hear in media. And I do pray that his story is told one day, because it's definitely one that will inspire many, many people. And I'm just grateful to be on this line with all of you, with Kahmaria as well, that I see here. I'm just grateful for all of you. When I look at brothers and sisters like this, I feel blessed and I feel honored that I can even be sharing the stage and the platform with all of you. So merci beaucoup. I just have to run because I have to grab the food for the children. Yeah. With the most gratitude that I say thank you to all of you.
Excellent, thank you so much. Yeah, jazz hands clapping. Yes, we'll catch up later. So you feel free to go. And Manock, yes, I do want to hear more of Manock's story too, but I'm wondering if everyone feels like we should wrap up for tonight. Do you feel like we should? And we'll do another one, and maybe then Manock can have like a spotlight, because yeah, I feel like you came in a bit late. We didn't get as much of your story. And Kahmaria, I always love hearing from you, as I've said every time. So I just want more from you. We'll bring back Tony. Yeah, I think we'll do that. But for now, we've been doing a lot of listening and learning right now. So let's end for now. I'll see if I'm driving a car full of stuff over to Gwen right now, because that's what Peggy had me doing, I think. Yes, Stephanie says, I think we can come back. Okay, perfect. So with that, we will say thank you to our lovely guests and reconvene at a later date. Thank you.
Bye, have a good night.
Yeah.
Asante sana.
Thank you. And feel free to leave. I hate hanging up on people, so I wait till the end. And now it's just my children, so I can hang up on my children, right?
Don't.
Don't hang up on you. Okay, I'm gonna stop the recording.
Wait. Oh yeah.